Welcome to today's video, where we dive into a fascinating exploration of psychological biases that subtly influence our decisions every day. You'll discover how these cognitive quirks affect everything from your spending habits to how you interpret information and even how you interact with others. Stick around to the end for practical ways to avoid falling into these mental traps. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more insightful content like this. Now let's get started with our first concept. The ostrich effect. Ever heard of the saying that ostriches bury their heads in the sand when faced with danger? Well, this behavior is mirrored in human psychology when we ignore negative feedback or uncomfortable information. For example, think about how many times you've avoided checking your bank account because you didn't want to confront how much you've spent. This avoidance can cause greater problems down the road. To counteract this, regularly review your situation, even when it's uncomfortable. Embrace the discomfort as it helps you stay informed and in control. Next, let's talk about the inability to close doors. This bias stems from the fear of missing out, often leading us to spread ourselves too thin. Think of a situation where you're working on 3 different business ideas simultaneously. You know deep down that focusing on just one would be more effective, but the thought of abandoning the other 2 prevents you from moving forward with any of them. The result? You achieve mediocre outcomes in all areas. The solution is to commit to one path at a time. Channel your energy into one goal, and you'll see much more progress. Now on to the contrast effect, a powerful tool often used in sales and marketing. Imagine a realtor showing you a rundown house before presenting the actual property they intend to sell. The comparison makes the second house seem far more appealing, even if it's just average. This effect warps our judgment. To avoid being swayed by contrast, try to evaluate each option on its own merits, without comparing it to extremes. Let's move on to Chauffeur Knowledge. You've likely come across someone who seems knowledgeable, speaks with confidence, but lacks true expertise. They repeat information without understanding it deeply, similar to how a parrot mimics words. To spot such individuals, ask probing questions. Genuine experts will provide deeper, thoughtful answers, while those with shallow knowledge will struggle to go beyond surface-level details. The next one is the IKEA Effect, which explains why we tend to overvalue things we've put effort into, like furniture we've assembled ourselves. While this pride in creation can be rewarding, it can also cloud our judgment. To avoid overestimating your work, seek external feedback. This outside perspective helps you make objective decisions and provides a clearer sense of value. Have you heard of the curse of specificity? This is when detailed information seems more persuasive, even when it is irrelevant. For example, I could say, right now it is 8:16 p.m. I am sitting at Starbucks in a cozy yellow armchair, enjoying a delicious cappuccino while typing this script. It paints a vivid picture, but does that make it more truthful? In reality, I am at home trying to focus while my child plays loudly in the other room. We often believe highly specific details, so it is important to recognize when these specifics might be used to sway our perception. The spotlight effect is when you think people notice your mistakes, appearance, or behavior more than they actually do. We tend to exaggerate how much others are paying attention to us, but the truth is, most people are too focused on themselves to notice every little detail about you. Remember this the next time you feel self-conscious. It can help reduce anxiety and shift your focus back to what truly matters. Now let's touch on the halo effect. This is when one positive attribute of a person, such as their appearance, influences how we perceive them in other areas. For instance, we may think someone is more competent or trustworthy just because they're well-dressed or physically attractive. To avoid this bias, try to evaluate people based on their actual abilities and behavior, not superficial qualities. Reciprocity is another powerful psychological principle. It's that feeling of obligation to give back when someone does something for you. You've probably felt this when you receive a free sample at a store and then feel compelled to make a purchase. Recognize when you're being influenced by this bias, and ask yourself if your actions are driven by genuine desire or simply a sense of obligation. Next up is the self-serving bias. This occurs when you attribute your successes to your own abilities, but blame external factors for failures. For example, if you win a game, it's because you're skilled, but if you lose, it's just bad luck. To keep yourself grounded, practice owning both your achievements and setbacks. This promotes personal growth and accountability. Another fascinating bias is the Diderot effect. This is when acquiring one new possession leads to a spiral of additional purchases. Picture buying a new outfit, and suddenly you feel the need to buy new shoes and accessories to match. The best way to avoid this is to be mindful of how one purchase can influence your overall spending habits. We also have the anchoring effect, where your initial exposure to a number or piece of information influences your judgment. For example, if you first see a $200 shirt, a $50 shirt may seem cheap by comparison. To avoid this, always evaluate options independently instead of in relation to the first thing you see. Now, let's talk about negativity bias. As humans, we naturally focus more on negative experiences than positive ones. For instance, I could read 100 comments under this video, but the one negative comment is the one that sticks with me. It's important to be aware of this tendency and consciously shift your focus toward the positive to cultivate a more balanced perspective. The sunk cost fallacy is when you continue doing something because you've already invested a lot into it, even when it's no longer the best decision. Think of staying in a bad relationship or job just because you've already put in years of effort. To avoid this, ask yourself what the best action is moving forward, rather than focusing on past investments. Then there's the paradox of choice, where having too many options makes decision-making harder. Have you ever stared at a menu with 50 items and felt overwhelmed? Limiting your choices or simplifying them for others can help reduce decision fatigue and lead to quicker, more satisfying outcomes. The framing effect is when how information is presented influences your decision. Imagine a doctor telling you there's a 90% chance you'll survive a procedure versus a 10% chance you'll die. Both are the same, but the framing changes how you feel. Always try to look at information from multiple perspectives before making a decision. Finally, we have the end of history illusion, where we believe that who we are now is who we'll be forever. It's easy to fall into this trap, but embracing change is crucial. Your beliefs, preferences, and goals will evolve, and that's completely okay. I hope this deep dive into psychological biases helps you understand how your mind works and how you can make more informed decisions in the future. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with friends, and subscribe to the channel for more insightful content like this. Thank you for watching.